Welcome back to the return of the live show, episode 265. Last week did not go as planned. I don't know if Dave noticed, but I will be working on that video today, and we will hope to get that up later today. But this show is brought to you by Game Up Hard Hydration. It's like your favorite seltzer and your favorite sports drink got together, had a baby, but it's so much better. And Dave has those details down by heart.
Oh, absolutely. We're talking about fruit punch, orange, lemon, lime, and grape. Those are your flavors. And guys, it's only 110 calories per can. It's low carb. Enjoy yourself some Game Up.
And oh shit. Hit the wrong button, but speaking of flavors, I really like the flavor that NXT seems to be adding to its debut show leading up to the CW. Very excited. This week, I was so excited for SmackDown. I was looking for the replay today, but it debuts on USA tonight. We have everything on USA for a little bit, and then NXT moves to the CW. It looks like they have big things in store. I'm just coming off of NXT this week. More was added. Dave, what do you think about the subject?
I'm loving the build up for NXT to CW. We got Julia. She just beat Chelsea Green on the day her debut of NXT this week. So we're building up to that title shot in Chicago. It's a match that a lot of people want to see. Julia versus Roxanne Perez. Trick Williams, is now all set. He's going to get his rematch, one-on-one rematch with Ethan Page for the title. We know CM Punk is going to be there. They're teasing that CM Punk has got some kind of idea coming up, and apparently he's going to be on NXT this week. So we're setting that. We saw the Bloodline show up this week on NXT. Are they going to play a part in the Chicago show? So there's just a lot of stuff that we're building up match-wise and with some big-name talent popping in that makes NXT to CW very interesting. And it's like making me realize like I need to make sure I have the CW. I got to have a place to watch this.
Yeah, make sure to add it on your Roku TV. It is a free app. And it's funny because I added it to the Roku TV and I was just looking around the CW app. Yeah. And NWA has been on the CW app longer, but NXT, which isn't even there yet, is featured more prominently. And if you search, you can find NWA, but they have they already have wrestler profiles up, so you can get to know these stars before the show hits. And it really seems like CW is putting in the work to roll out the red carpet for this show.
It's got to be, even though they're not cable, they're a network TV, and I know they're one of the smaller networks. This is probably going to be their flagship show, I would imagine. This will probably have the biggest ratings, and hopefully, like we were saying, that you can get on the CW app at least the next day or the week after or something, because I know that a lot of people are going to see, but I imagine there's going to be a little bit of a wait, right? Because they're going to want people to tune in to the actual network, show.
Possibly. I'm not familiar with what their posting schedule is. Like most streaming services seem to do next day. Like I know for the Rick and Morty animated show, right, it's live on Cartoon Network, and then it's up on Max the next day. So it could be that sometimes, and I've seen it with WWE, at least posting to Peacock, Raw and SmackDown are not always updated so quickly. So you could be that week or two behind. We'll have to see what the schedule
Maybe you even post it on a Friday. Like if NXT's on a Tuesday, SmackDown's going to be on a Friday. Maybe you try to capitalize on a wrestling audience or something and then put it on the app too.
Yeah, that's not a bad idea. I'll have to get more into the CW app because, just adding it yesterday.
I think it's available on YouTube TV, the CW network.
Okay.
And we got another person who's on this podcast who has the YouTube TV. So I want to get that. Don't worry, we'll figure it out.
And I plan on catching up on the Crockett Cup on CW. That's one of my favorite events of the year. This year it was on the CW app, and I just didn't see it much. But one thing we will be seeing, more than likely coming up, it's one of the bigger things to come out of AEW. Something that has been built up for so long. One of the longer stories I think that AEW has tried to tell And it seems like it's going to pay off in, what is that, 2 weeks?
2 weeks. Yeah.
This is crazy. This is something I thought we'd be down to, like, years down the line, maybe even, like, the main event of, like, an All Out or an All In, and we're getting it at Grand Slam.
Yeah.
Danielson versus McGuinness. They've wrestled before. This could be the final time.
Probably.
I don't think we expected to see McGuinness in a ring again, and that
No.
was part of All In. That was very surprising.
No. I'm interested to see how this all plays out. How we got here was a little strange because this was originally supposed to be Darby's title shot, and Darby gave it up to defend it against Mox. Mox wants it because Danielson couldn't be here. But now, if Danielson is cleared to wrestle, he's going to fight McGuinness. So, storyline wise, part of me is like, I'm Darby. I'd be like, yo, motherfucker, forget that. Chill out, Mox. I want my shot. But at the same time, it's so hard not to be excited about this because this is such a great match. And like Joe said, we didn't think we'd get this match. And here we are. We're going to get McGuinness and Danielson. And McGuinness has been, I think, slowly building this on commentary for like the last year or so that he's been in AEW, been taking nothing but shots at Danielson. And it's made me want to see this match even more. And the fact that we knew Danielson was retiring and we knew McGuinness had gotten himself in good shape, it was like we knew it was a possibility, but it was looking like less and less, especially after, Grand Slam. I'm sorry, after I'm getting confused now. All Out, right? No, All In London. After that took place, and we saw McGuinness was in the Battle Royal and Danielson won the title. I'm like, well, what are the odds these two are ever going to get together? And, well, they are. 2 weeks, Grand Slam, New York. I love it.
It's really the best and worst of AEW because, like you said, the logic getting to it is fucked. Right. But when you look at how they've been building it slowly over this time, McGuinness has never wavered from his position. It makes it all the more exciting.
Yeah, and I mean, they're kind of giving it a little bit of an out with the Darby thing if Brian is cleared to wrestle. So I do wonder if we won't know if Brian's cleared to wrestle till like that night. Like it's going to be like, they'll be in the ring and then we're going to announce it and then suddenly like final countdown plays, and is McGuinness coming out to Oasis,
Oh, that would be awesome. Really built up well, very excited for this. And really kind of the question on wrestling fans' minds, because we're going to talk about All Out, but there was a lot of results from it that have led people to ask, is AEW going too far? I saw AJ posted it in our group chat, and I thought it was kind of a silly question. And then I heard it popping up on more podcasts, and I still think it's kind of a goofy question, but I want to know what you think right now.
Nothing bothered me on that show. Plastic bag angle immediately gave me thoughts of Terry Funk. So, I have nothing but a soft spot for Terry Funk. So that didn't bother me at all. Jim Ross sold that shit brilliantly. For all the shit we give Jim Ross now, like he was perfect in this. Like he was not about that, and that's great. That's what you needed, I thought, in that angle. Saying it's ridiculous, this isn't wrestling, that's embarrassing. Like I thought it was great. The stuff later on, let's see, with Strickland and Hangman, the cinder block spots, the staples and stuff like that. It's not necessarily my cup of tea. But I've seen that shit so much now. Like, watch events like GCW, watch other like backyard wrestling promotions, and you're going to see staples. You're going to see there was light bulbs earlier on in the night, which just happens at all kinds of shows. The image of a needle to the mouth, I can see where that's going to maybe potentially turn off sponsors and stuff like that. But it's a pay-per-view. You're not doing it all the time. So to me, it doesn't bother me. I guess from a business standpoint, maybe I'd be worried about like sponsors or stuff like that. But I don't know. Like I said, I mean, we'll see. Unless this stops them from getting a TV deal or something, I'd say it is what it is. And they're putting on a different product and a different show, which is what you want.
Yeah. The only thing I'd say I didn't care for was the needle in the mouth.
Yeah,
Other than that, I don't think AEW took it too far because if you look at the state of wrestling now, everything people know too much. It's all, so the business isn't hidden like it once was. So to make things stand out and to make a big splash with things, sometimes, especially for a feud like this, like a few of these feuds, you got to go a little heavier. Where is the line? It's kind of hard to tell. Like, if there is a definite line that they cross, the people will definitely let them know. I haven't heard it be overwhelming yet that they went too far, but I think we're starting to feel the limits of what they can do. Overall, though, I thought All Out, given how close it was to All In
yeah,
and how fucking close it's going to be to Wrestle Dream,
right.
which Dave, is that our next live watch along after Bad Blood?
Could be. We'll have to take a look. I didn't. I don't remember
Yeah,
the.
I know. It's the Saturday after it. I sprang that on him live, folks,
Yeah,
but
yeah, very
it's
possible.
up in the air. But All Out, I think it brought me back to liking Tony Khan's pay-per-views and booking. And like Randy had said, we're looking forward to
Actually, I would say
Dynamite,
there's a good
Bryan,
chance
and
Bad
Randy.
Blood could be our next watch along because I believe that's October 5th, and I believe that's going to be a 6 o'clock Saturday
Yep.
time.
Well, that's definitely officially our next watch
Okay.
along. This one is the following
Oh, I
Saturday,
see what you're
so it
asking me.
could be kind of a pain in the ass,
We could
but
do it.
we'll see. We're back at it. It's fall time. But what didn't fall is my interest in AEW. That Osprey Pac match had to have been match of the night for me. I heard people like the ladies' street fight.
Yeah.
It wasn't bad, but it didn't stand out as much as Pac Osprey for me. But they had a hell of a spot to be in during that match.
So for me, a lot of great matches, but I was gonna say this until that angle where Mox turned on Danielson with the plastic bag, I thought it was a very hot show, but I was kind of thinking, this is cool, but it's almost like I didn't need to watch it. Like it was almost like it reminded me of a hot Clash of Champions or a hot show where it was like it was a really good show, but I'm like, nothing really noteworthy is going to happen. No titles changed hands, nothing, anything I needed to see. Just good matches, which I like, but I'm like, is it worth the money? Then I'm like, well, it was a combo. And then Mox turns on Danielson, and I'm like, oh, okay, now we're cooking. You know what I mean? So for me, that really made the show. So it's kind of funny for some people who really got turned off by the plastic bag. That took this from an average show to an above average show for me.
Yeah, and I can't remember if I heard it on a podcast or read it somewhere, but apparently Eddie Kingston wanted to do the plastic bag angle like a year or so
I
ago,
believe that.
and they finally got around to using it.
He's
So,
such a big Terry Funk fan, so I can see that.
yeah. And I'm trying to think if there was anything that really stood out from this. I was on vacation when I watched this, and so much has happened since then. An amazing Australian Pink Floyd show last night. The details of this show are breezing me by, but what is not is the announcement of 2-hour Raws for at least the rest of 2024. And I haven't heard definitively if they're going to start off on Netflix, but I think if it goes well enough with 2-hour Raws on USA, we could see that on Netflix. How are you feeling about 2-hour Raws?
Get your hopes up for that. Dave Meltzer said that he talked to people. This is Dave Meltzer, mind you, so it's definitely not official, but he said he talked to people and that he had it confirmed that it will be going back to 3 hours on Netflix because that's what Netflix was paying for, and they want the 3 hours. Now, I don't know that to be the case, so we're not going to say it, but I will say that I'm excited about 2 hours of Raw because as much as I think Raw has improved, especially under the Hunter Hearst Helmsley era here, especially under the Paul Levesque era, especially I would even argue that there are weeks now that Raw is better than SmackDown, which used to never be the case. But that being said, like 2 hours is such a great fit because I think that a lot of times you find on nights where they don't have a ton of stuff, that third hour might still drag. But now here we are, 8 to 10. Like that's perfect to me. Like that's exactly what I'm looking for out of this. That's what I want. I think less is more. I think there'll be people that maybe don't get booked on the show, and that's a bummer for them. But I also think when they do eventually get booked, that's how you're going to keep talent more fresh too.
100%. I think I heard the reason they're doing this is because they had that gap in the contract and then to when their next one starts. And it's like they're getting paid, they're getting some different deal for this. So they're delivering slightly less, which isn't bad. I
Sure.
am very much going to enjoy the 2 hour era. I think it's going to give the show a different feel because, they're going to have to get to the point quicker or do things
Right.
differently. And it makes sense that it's going back to 3 hours for, when they hit Netflix, but at least it'll
That's,
be a nice few months, right?
it'll be interesting to see too. I mean, I know we're talking about Raw, but with SmackDown tonight too, I know there's a lot of surprises and stuff return. All I can keep thinking is at what point, I gotta feel like The Rock is coming back at some point here. You know,
It would make sense. I mean, you gotta heat up Survivor Series coming up soon, which is more than likely gonna have a bloodline feel. Um, a lot of the times, anytime when they debuted on Fox, they made a big splash.
right?
So I'm expecting similar move tonight. I mean, you already got it with the steel cage match, but look at how they're treating their CW debut.
Right.
Debuts are big for them.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I have to say too, even though like now we're just kind of ripping a little bit here towards the end here, I would have to say too, talking about like WWE big debuts possibly tonight on Raw or SmackDown, return surprises we get up to. And I keep thinking one of the things I'm also really enjoying going back to NXT and CW is this TNA relationship. Jordan Grace showing up, having open challenges now, and Rosemary now becoming more a part of the weekly
Wendy
telecast,
Chu's
right? With
group.
Wendy Chu. So it's like it's very Hammerstone showed
I
up
was
this week.
glad you brought up NXT because that was the one thing I saw when I saw Hammerstone come out against Obafemi.
Yeah,
No greater opponent you could put up against him. I almost hated that Hammerstone got beat what I felt too quickly.
sure. I
You
get
know,
that.
he's making that first splash in NXT. More people are getting to see him now than had before. So it's only like a move in the right direction. I was watching TNA and I saw Ariana Grace show up. And then
Yes.
she introduces Caden Carter, I
Yeah.
believe, to go up against Jordan Grace. So you're seeing developing wrestlers being able to go on other shows. You're seeing big names get to go on other shows. And it's just been one of the highlights of 2024 for me, I think.
One other thing too, I know there was a rumor on some site, might have been PW Mania. It wasn't anybody I recognized, and somebody else was quoting it, but there's a rumor that the Motor Machine Guns are signed to WWE and they will be on that NXT CW debut. So I hope that's certainly the case. And think about this: imagine if the Guns are coming to NXT, and what if we got the Lucha Brothers not too far around the corner too?
That would be awesome. Yeah, WWE's done a good job of like signing people and then not rushing to debut them.
Right.
Not that they're pacing for signing people and debuting them has ever been necessarily bad, aside from like a couple wrestlers like through the years that really got rushed through. But now they sign them, they sit on it for a while. Like we didn't see Julia for a while, and we had heard about Julia.
Right.
Motor City Machine Guns, that's been talked about for a couple months now, and it seems like it's moving closer to happening. I did not even realize Victory Road was tonight. Randy, what are the big matches on Victory Road? Because I got to say, TNA, when I check in for their pay per views, have really been knocking it out of the park. And is Dave Googling it right now?
Googling it right now. So
MLW Fightland on Saturday night.
Google this so Randy doesn't have to. I'll do the work so Randy doesn't have to.
UFC 306 on Saturday night as well. I
Yeah.
think MLW Fightland, that could probably start earlier. I could see that as like a 6 o'clock start time.
All right. The Hardy Boys versus First Class, Casey Navarro, AJ Francis,
That
PCO
is a good match.
Rhino. PCO and Rhino versus Deathmatch Royalty, Matt Cardona and Steph DeLander.
All right.
Oh, here's a good one. Zach Wentz and Mike Bailey, X Division
Ooh,
title.
that's gonna be
Zach,
good.
Zach Wentz, the new champ. We got Masha Slamovich and Alicia Edwards versus Danny Luna and Jody Threat. ABC versus Brian Myers and Eddie Edwards. Joe
It's
Hendry versus Josh Alexander. That should be good.
ooh,
Jordan Grace versus Wendy Chu. So there's that NXT WWE thing. And Nick Nemeth versus Moose for the TNA World Championship. So
that is not a bad card. Oh, what was I gonna say? There was one match in there that I lost it.
Hammerstone and Henry.
Oh, with the ladies tag match.
Yeah.
If the Jody Threat and her partner Danny Luna,
Yeah.
if they don't win the championships, they won't team anymore. Because I just watched that episode.
Oh yeah.
Of
If
TNA
Fire
Impact.
loses, they must disband as a team. Correct.
Another
So-
interesting thing I
Oh, yeah.
saw or I heard about, thoughts on maybe another AEW show on Fox.
Yeah, Aftershock is the thing that was
Trademarked.
trademarked, yes. And there's some speculation they could end up on another network. Wasn't just Fox. There was another one that was rumored too, but Fox was the one, of course, everybody's talking about because WWE obviously leaving Fox. It's possible. It's not a possibility because the problem with WWE and Fox was Fox wasn't getting the ad revenue that they wanted back out of much they were paying for WWE. But they might be able to do that with AEW because they're not going to pay as much for AEW.
Yeah, I'm not sure if you can be on Warner Programming and Fox at the same time.
Right.
You know, I don't doubt that there could be another AEW show. I don't see the need for it. But you saw they did that show with TNT after Collision where it's like all those big fail videos and like car crashes and things intercept with like AEW stars talking. I've never watched the show. It doesn't sound like a bad idea coming off of wrestling, but I don't know how much wrestling fans are looking for that type of show. Will this be a wrestling show? Will this be wrestling adjacent?
It's
And
tough.
I don't know if they really need another show because Rampage suffers. Collision is okay.
Yeah.
And I mean, they've been struggling enough with, not necessarily Dynamite viewers, but like viewership overall could be better. I don't know if you want to further dilute it with another show, but I mean, I'll watch it.
Their Collision ratings were record low going up against SmackDown in college football this week. And it was interesting because I heard it on another podcast. I think it might have been Wrestling Observer, but basically, if you look at Collision, they had that main event all-star match where it was like an 8-man match where it was like
This was the Collision that was on a Friday night, but had Rampage starting immediately after it, right?
Yeah. And so what happened was that Collision main event was very low, but the moment SmackDown ended, like people turned over to watch that Collision main event bleed into Rampage, and Rampage ratings were actually higher because people were there. But then the rest of the show dipped because the way they book Rampage usually, where if you like a fun little quick hour wrestling, it's okay, but you don't feel there's anything left. There's nothing need you to watch, and they knew that. So once they tuned in to finish that main event, everything just dipped, right? But the overall Collision, when it went head-to-head with SmackDown, lowest ratings since the show's been on the air, and I don't think that's mostly college football because I think if you look at SmackDown's ratings, they were the second lowest of all time because of college football. So you had the second lowest ratings of all time SmackDown and going head-to-head with AEW, but AEW's rating for that show was the lowest of all time. So, it just kind of tells you, like, if the WWE's hot, like, there's hardcores like me and you that will watch, I want to watch this, and I'm still going to watch my AEW, but that's not everybody else. Unfortunately, they're going to go, okay, well, I got enough time for one show. I'll watch this one.
Yep. And Rampage, it's almost like AEW Dark had been in the past where you'll get a good match or two, but a lot of the times it's lesser known talent, like lower tier angles. And I'm not saying they do things bad. You probably get a good amount of top flight on Rampage. I'm sure you get the infantry. the outrunners have to be, get some matches on Rampage, and they are good. But like you said, limited time, the older we get, the less time we have to watch TV, especially if we're not trying to do a wrestling podcast. And, you kind of pick and choose what you watch. And Rampage is the easiest one to cut out. Collision, sometimes yes, sometimes no. And, Dynamite, it does good, but it could be better.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I wonder if Dynamite's ratings would be better if there was no Collision and Rampage.
Well, little fun fact, I don't know if you saw this in the magazines, but there is one place where Dynamite ratings are through the roof.
Where's that?
That's Wrestleville, baby.
Oh.
Read about the Northern Wrestling Federation in the book presented by Russellville.com, The Pro Wrestling Vault, Volume 2. Hear the story of Roger Ruffin, the man who trained Carl Anderson, the Monster Abyss, Jordan Clearwater, Chris Harris, and Jillian Hall.
Plus 45 other short stories including Jazz, Bobby Eaton, Kamala, Thunder Rosa, Mario Mancini, Scott Casey, PJ Black, Kerry Morton, Sal Renaro, Jeremiah Plunkett, Colby Carino, Bam Bam Malone, and many others.
Get your book today at Russellville.com. Russellville, it's where wrestling lives.
If you haven't tried Game Up, then you are missing out. Imagine your favorite seltzer and your favorite sports drink had a baby, but it's way better than that. Each can is 110 calories, low carb, 4.9 ABV. It's a nice light drink that is not light on flavor. Game Up comes in fruit punch, orange, lemon, lime, and grape. Pick it up at drinkgameup.com or at your nearest liquor store.
All you got some wrestling fans up there, listen, Old Black Bart has got a book. It's called Wrestle Black Bart. It's got some dead good stories in there about some dead good wrestlers.
Read stories of Dusty Rhodes, the Von Erich, Scott Casey, Sergeant Slaughter, Roddy Piper, Mr. Fuji, Ron Bass, Bruiser Brody, Mike Davis, the Grappler, and many others.
And I guarantee you one thing, that it'll be the best dadgum read you've had in a long time.
Get your book today at Russellville.com or on Amazon. Russellville, it's where wrestling lives.